After a pretty decent double bill premiere last week, Noah Hawley's Alien Earth has returned for another weekly installment with Metamorphosis, an instructive title for the episode given the show undergoes its own quiet transformation and appears to be finding a more confident footing, with Wendy and Hermit continuing to outrun the Xenomorph. All the while, the Lost Boys begin to reckon with the body horror of their predicament. Morrow's character takes full shape, and Kersh, well, he just continues to steal the show. But is it a Hermit-esque home run, or is the episode, directed by Dana Gonzalez, still an imperfect organism? Let's get into it. Hey everyone, Ewan here for What Culture Horror again, and while not being too enthusiastic about the first couple episodes of Alien Earth, I have to say I vibe with this one a heck of a lot more. Not as much as everyone else, still, I don't think, just because I think there's something fundamentally a bit jarring about condensing all that juicy alien mythology into something as small scale as a TV show, even one with as big a budget as this, but still, there are positive signs of life here, which is good. The egg case is vibrating and peeling open, and hopefully that facehugger's gonna leap right out and plant a big ol' kiss on the forehead. And not the mouth, because, well, you know, the whole parasitic reproduction thing. Anyway, Episode 3 picks up immediately where the last episode left off, with Wendy chasing after Joe after he was picked up by the want-away Xeno. We get a great little set piece involving the Xenomorph assessing their prey before the trio tussle, concluding with a great confrontation where Wendy decapitates the creature off-screen, but succumbs to some pretty heavy wounds alongside her brother. Also, to point out one thing with the Xeno here, I just absolutely adore the practical nature of how the show is tackling the creature. I know there was a couple of maybe dodgy CG moments in the previous episode, but it's just great to see that, you know, the show really understands that one of the things that made the original Alien so great was its practical focus. It felt tangible in a terrifyingly existential way. And to see a mixture of costume work, real great set design, and, you know, actual model work too, it's just great. The shot of the decapitated Xeno is just wonderful. I just wanted to shout out the production team for that because it genuinely is really, really cool. But while all of that is going on, we also get to spend a bit more time with the rest of the Lost Boys, starting with Slightly and Smee, played by Adash Garav and Jonathan Ajayi, respectively. I know I said last week that the whole child dynamic and the humor that brings was jarring with the overall tonality of what I think Aliens should be, but this week, the sheer entertainment factor just about overcame that. Like, seriously, the duo are great together, playing a cheeky game in front of the nest of Xenomorph eggs, before getting into trouble when Morrow comes along and ultimately gets wind of Prodigy's advancements in synthetic experimentation, planting a device on Slightly before disappearing once Kersh enters the picture. And speaking of Kersh, goddamn, Timothy Olyphant is just like owning this show. There are so many great moments with the character in this episode, including him standing up to Boy Cavalier, his parental instincts clashing with the kind of cold curiosity he has as a synth, the whole look with your eyes moment. He's just a really fascinating character, and I wasn't expecting Alien Earth to really do anything unique and inventive with the synths, especially after, you know, we've had amazing performances from the likes of Ian Holm, Lance Henriksen, and of course Michael Fassbender as David in Prometheus and Alien Covenant. But Olyphant is standing alongside those guys as a truly, truly fascinating addition to the pantheon of Ridley Scott adjacent sci-fi robot creatures. He's just fantastic. Also have to shout out David Johnson in Alien Romulus because obviously he was a major highlight of that movie too. But yeah, while I might not be gelling with the show as enthusiastically as a lot of other people are, Kersh is making it a must-watch alone, so great job there. Morrow is also growing into something really fierce, with Babu Sise doing an excellent job of not only portraying a man out of time, but one whose humanity serves as a painful reminder that he is basically just a tool to be used. Now, the only thing that will give him respite is completing his mission, as it's what he sacrificed everything for to accomplish in the first place, and that is just the kind of messed up that I want from something alien-related. Complementing all of that is the emergence of Curly, played by Arana James. If slightly in Smee's friendship is meant to show the best of childlike humor, curiosity, and kind-heartedness, then Curly is basically the opposite. She's desperate for attention, unperturbed by the loss of her biology, and is keen to replace Wendy as Boy Cavalier's favorite, which I'm sure is going to end brilliantly for both of them. And it's this dynamic on humanity and what makes a human human where Alien Earth is drawing its most compelling features from. The overall practicality of the show is very cool too, particularly when we get into the goopy flesh of the Xenos, facehuggers, and those creepy blood-sucking bug tick things. But the tension being derived from these myriad personalities and the push and pull between logic and emotion, and what ultimately drives these individuals most, is all ultimately stake the show's claim as being a worthwhile and truly individual component of the franchise. Again, I think Timothy Oliphant's Kersh is the most intriguing window into this push and pull, particularly as he is purely synthetic and yet also one of the most human characters in the show, guiding his pupils and standing up to his employer and creator when humans that work at Prodigy aren't doing the same. At the same time though, well, he's distinguished himself as being alongside the food chain, not in it, and is clearly relishing in the vulnerability of his master in the presence of the xenomorph. There's a clear ruthless streak there, particularly as he places the xeno tadpole thing in Hermit's surgically removed lung to conduct experiments. And yeah, if I was Hermit, I wouldn't be too happy about that. Like, get the hell away from my lung, please. So yeah, lots of really cool positives with this episode, but there are a few negatives too. I think the show is still feeling the unfortunate effects of TV constriction in the same way that different Star Wars shows have on Disney+, which is a bit of a shame. It can't really compete with the films in terms of getting the scale and kind of existential dread, looking into the maw of space and feeling that kind of dwarfing effect. It just isn't there here, and that's a byproduct of the setting. Yeah, I totally get that. But I still think there's a way of tapping further into those kind of primordial fears that the show doesn't seem to be interested in, which is kind of interesting in a not fun way. There's also an overall lack of menace with the Xeno. I spoke in the last review about how this creature has been so overexposed over the years that it's easy to kind of find it not that terrifying, but even Alien Romulus, which was a movie I didn't massively care for, the Xeno still felt punchy and terrifying. Here, it just feels kind of mundane. It's doing all the familiar tricks we know and love and have seen time and time again. And yeah, that's not a good thing. The last time the Xenomorph appeared in a film and I thought, I'm not really bothered about you as a presence, was probably Aliens vs. Predator, the first one from like the early 2000s, which again, not a good sign. I also think the show is kind of suffering from repeating familiar TV hooks, tropes that we've come to expect from premium programming over the last 15 to 20 years, especially when it comes to the use of non-diegetic needle drops. We've already heard 20th century music before in the franchise, but here it just kind of feels like a weird artistic touch. I get that maybe the intent is to harken back to 20th century nostalgia, given that Boy Cavalier is clearly pulling from that well in regards to how he conducts himself as a person and how he feels that Prodigy should be. But it doesn't really work for me, especially when you're pulling from the most overrated Metallica album, which, you know, that's probably a hot take that you weren't expecting, but goddamn, the Black Album, overplayed, whatever. I think that they can do better here. It just clashes for me. That's just my opinion. So overall, lots of positive steps in this episode, and I really do think the show is succeeding right now based on its compelling character drama, performances, and the synthetic back and forth, but there's also a lack of existential dread and terror. For as much as Hawley seems keen to divest from Prometheus and Alien Covenant for their demystifying approach to the series, he hasn't quite managed to replace it with something as intriguing. Lots of great exploration on the synthetic components of the world, but the xenomorph and the creatures, the fear of what's lying out there beyond the stars, feels way less creative and more familiar. Mundane, even. Hopefully, it's just a case that it needs more incubation, and that later episodes will burst with the kind of acidity that made the first film so special, but I guess we'll see. But let's throw it back out to you. What do you think of Alien Earth's third episode and the series overall so far? Theory, speculation, whatever? Throw it down there. I'd love to have a look. And also be sure to drop the video a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to What Culture Horror so you don't miss another upload going forward. And if you're in the mood for more Alien Predator mumbo jumbo, why not check out 9 upcoming horror movies that aren't what you think, because there's a little bit in there on Predator Badlands, which I'm really looking forward to as a movie. And yeah, go check it out. Either way, I've been Ewan, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye!